So we need to talk about the debt ceiling, and we need to cover what is actually being said as of right now. Now, I got a message this morning, and the message essentially just said that asked, how are we supposed to know, what to do? Do we go and get a mortgage? Do we go and invest into the stock market? Do we go and find a new job? What do we do if we do not know if the United States is going to be able to cover their debts? Well, here's the problem. We don't know. Nobody knows. Even the President of the United States has no clue if we are going to see the debt ceiling get increased. He doesn't know that because that comes down to Congress. And as of right now, some parts of Congress or Democrats within Congress are saying that no, they don't want to negotiate. Some are saying that yes, we need to negotiate. And then you got Republicans that say we have to negotiate this debt ceiling. We have to ensure that there's no additional spending. We have to ensure that all these programs that we're spending billions and billions of dollars on, we are not just blowing money, because that's what's been happening lately. Well, here's what I can tell you. And this is actually pretty important, because what we are now seeing is Republicans argue that President Biden will not sit down with them, and he doesn't want to negotiate at all. Not a little bit. He doesn't want to negotiate at all. Well, according to Speaker Kevin McCarthy, he said just this weekend that it's been over 80 days since he has wanted to start negotiating this debt ceiling, and President Biden has ignored every single one of his calls. Then we got Democrats that say there's no need to negotiate because this should be a clean bill. However, we all know this is not going to be a clean bill. Now, reports are saying that President Biden, though, would like to negotiate, and he's open to negotiating. But this is the big reason why he is not. According to reports, it says that key Democrats do not want President Biden to negotiate because President Biden will slip up and likely show their hand. So at this point, what we're hearing is that Democrats do not want President Biden to be the one to negotiate this because he will screw things up. That's what they're saying. And because of this, they're essentially hiding him. And you may not know this, but did you know, or you may have kind of got this idea that President Biden, he has given the least amount of speeches of any president. Yeah. They do not want to bring him out. Nobody wants him out. That's crazy that the President of the United States is being hidden. So who's the one making all these decisions? Right? Who is it? Now, this is tough because in a time when the American people, when you and I want answers, we're not getting answers. We're not getting anything. We have to turn on mainstream media to try to see what they're saying. We have to go and read between the lines in interviews from lawmakers to see what's happening. This is why what's going on right now it's a very interesting time, because the American people are figuring things out on their own. This is different from 5 years ago. This is very different from 10 to 15 years ago, where we were told everything. Now, we're figuring things out on our own, and that's problematic for right now for Democrats, because what we are figuring out is we were being told lies all along. So, here's what I can tell you. What's going to happen with this debt ceiling negotiation? Well, according to some Democrats, they're actually pressuring President Biden to negotiate now. They want to figure this out because they say we need to negotiate, not the debt ceiling, but we need to negotiate the federal budget for fiscal year 2024. But why is this? Well, the reason for this is because Republicans have said time and time again they will only vote to raise the debt ceiling only if, they can see cuts. They can see a reduced amount of spending in the federal budget. Well, that's coming up. So, here's what I can tell you. And we saw and I did a video on this just last week as well, but we saw reports where, and we saw the actual, I guess, piece of legislation, right, the bill that Republicans put forward, where they want to see, what was it, $4.5 trillion in savings over the next 10 years, right? They want to see a decent amount of spending cuts. Now, one thing I can tell you is that even though we will see cuts to our federal budget, this is going to raise the debt ceiling by $1.5 trillion. This is what some people are saying is a bad move because they don't want the debt ceiling to increase. But at the same time, if the debt ceiling doesn't increase or we don't reduce the total amount of spending, and again, a lot of this has already been passed, if we don't reduce it, the problem is we will default on our debts. Now, this is not something that we want to have happen. This will send the stock market into a frenzy. Everything is going to collapse. We know real estate's already, kind of on that verge. Banks are struggling. The American people are hurting. Right now, we still have inflation at 5%. The expectation is it is going to go down. But the problem is if we don't see all this stuff happen and it doesn't turn out the way everybody's expecting, then things could go from bad to worse in a hurry. Now, here's one other thing I just want to touch on because I mentioned this yesterday. I actually did a whole video on it. But I talked about how there's a chance for additional stimulus in 2024. And I talked about how due to a potential recession in 2023, depending on how this recession goes, there could be additional stimulus. This could be a stimulus check. This could be unemployment benefits. Could be the child tax credit payments, right? Student loan forgiveness. There's a bunch of different things in here. But I want to clarify something because somebody asked me, is this true? Are we really going to get stimulus? The answer is yes. There is a good chance we see stimulus according to experts because, and again, it comes down to this one scenario where we see inflation goes away. It just goes away. Back to 2%, maybe it's under 2% because the Federal Reserve has over-tightened. If they over-tighten, inflation goes away, unemployment skyrockets, and the economy slows down. We are in a recession. Guess what? The Federal Reserve will likely come out and say, we need to start to stimulate. And then Congress, stimulate. Well, now they got their attention because, we need to stimulate the economy in 2024, which is an election year? Okay, Democrats would love to do that. Democrats would jump all over that. But would Republicans? Well, if it comes down to it and getting the economy back on its feet, yeah, Republicans would jump all over that as well. But again, that brings me to the last point. Are we going to see any of this stuff? Well, we do know there's going to be a negotiation on the federal budget. It happens every single year. It's not going to be a clean bill. It is going to be negotiated. And that's what Democrats are now, as of this morning, pushing President Biden to negotiate that. Because if they can negotiate that, then there's a high likelihood Republicans would jump on board and vote and pass a debt ceiling increase as long as it's somewhat along their lines. So we will see what happens moving forward, but my expectation is over this week and probably over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we are going to get more and more updates on the debt ceiling, on the federal budget, and hopefully things are looking much better. So make sure you go ahead, do two things. First off, go ahead and hit that like button on this video. Also, click the subscribe button so you never miss an update. But that is what we got for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.